Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
DOTr officials have until today to submit their courtesy resignation. Newly appointed Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon quickly explained that this is a standard practice for new leaders.
Former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV filed a supplemental affidavit to strengthen the drug smuggling charges against Davao City Representative Paulo Duterte and others over the 6.4 billion peso shabu shipment seized in 2017. Let's talk about that later with the former senator himself, live here on the studio.
Senate President Cheese Escudero reiterated that the impeachment trial against Vice President Sara Duterte is likely to begin in June. He believes that the Senate will conclude the trial within 3 months.
And the Philippines made history at the Asian Winter Games in China by winning a gold medal in curling. Pero ano nga ba ang kwento sa likod nito?
Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon has ordered key DOTr officials to submit their courtesy resignations by February 26. He also rode the EDSA bus carousel to assess commuter issues firsthand. Here's the report.
Newly appointed Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon has asked for the courtesy resignation of undersecretaries, assistant secretaries, and directors of the department.
It's just a simple gesture, no, of goodwill and good faith to the newly appointed leadership, which will allow the newly appointed leadership to find the best personnel to do the jobs.
Officials have until today, February 26, to submit their resignations. In the meantime, they are expected to continue their duties unless Dizon orders otherwise. Before this, Dizon personally rode the EDSA bus carousel from Ortigas to Monumento with the DOTr's team of engineers to assess the system firsthand.
I wouldn't say it was horrible, especially kapag nakasakay ka na sa bus. Kapag, syempre, ano pa rin, no? Nakatayo. Pero, I mean, kahit naman sa abroad, pagka puno, nakatayo ka naman. No? So, pero, dun ko nakita ang genius ng busway.
He noted issues like long lines at Ortigas Station and delays of 1 to 3 minutes at stations, including Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange and Monumento. He suggested adding clear signage, sanction, and timers, as well as deploying enforcers to improve bus flow. He also aims to repair all station elevators and build separate access lane for bus riders.
These engineers just have to do the final designs and specifications and the engineering plans. But hopefully that will be finished in a month or two so that by May, we can already start the bidding process for the construction.
Dizon will continue his on-ground inspections next week, taking his commuting challenge to the MRT-3.
Now, newly appointed Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon is considering extending the operating hours of MRT and LRT. Dizon emphasized the need for longer operating hours, noting its potential to ease passenger congestion. He said discussions with service providers will be held to explore possible solutions. Currently, train operations start at around 4:30 in the morning and it ends at around 9:30 or 10 in the evening.
For passenger welfare, no, we want to make the commuting public lives easier. No, and that's the easiest dapat eh. Increasing the operating hours by 2 hours, ang laking bagay nun ha. Ang laking bagay nun in terms of pila.
Yun. So kasi marami, yung going back dun sa unang news natin kanina about yung mga resignation ng mga USECs and mga ASEC, standard practice. And I think I heard also from one of his interviews, si Secretary Dizon, he wants to bring in his people.
Technically naman, it's up to the newly appointed official to select whether may i-retain siya from the current resignations or meron i-let go na. Or may i-reassign to a different position, to a different area. Usually gano'n naman yun eh. Kasi mayroon siyang kada secretary na ina-appoint, may kanyang vision siya na may pipiliin siya na akma sa vision niya. Oo. Tsaka maganda yung sinabi niya about the EDSA busway na inayos natin ng mabuti, it's going to be a good system of
Yes.
transportation, di ba? At least isa sa mga panlaban natin sa traffic.
Yes.
Oo.
And it's good that he pointed out also yung mga walkway ng mga passengers.
Oo,
Kasi
yeah.
diba, we would always passing sa gilid
Correct.
ng EDSA busway. Hindi tayo dumadaan, of course, sa EDSA busway. No? But we would see yung mga bumababa ng mga pasahero.
Correct.
Minsan nasa gitna, sa gilid ng
Yes.
kalye na very dangerous for them.
Tsaka you see them, kasi usually ang karamihan ng baba ng mga busway sa gitna. So pagtatawid sila sa mga gilid ng EDSA sa ilalim ng flyover, which is very dangerous. So it's about time na pag-aralan niya, tulad sabi ni Secretary Dizon, na magkaroon ng system. Kung maglalagay tayo ng mini station sa gilid na may transport ka sa other side.
At saka yung may susundan ng operating hours talaga.
Yes,
Kasi
oo.
nangyayari, nag-aantayan, tapos nagka-clog, no? Nagba-bottleneck yung mga pasahero, yung mga bus sa lugar. Kaya ngayon nagkakaroon ng mga pagsikip,
Oo.
'di ba? So abala din.
Tsaka siguraduhin nila na friendly to for senior citizens and
Yeah.
PWD. Because karamihan ng mga nag-busway, if you see the crowd, mga PWD senior citizens, na may mga appointments to and from Makati to Quezon City.
Right.
Kaya nga yung point-to-point supposed to be comfortable eh.
Yeah. So as for the other plans of the DOTr under his leadership, kasama na rin dyan yung mga jeepney modernization program.
Correct.
He's willing to meet halfway with jeepney drivers. Isa yun sa mga nasabi niya. And other plans, of course, ito kasama rin yung sa MRT extending yung hours. And I think more than that, we should add mga train coaches.
Yes,
Diba? Kasi sobrang sikip na eh. And if you can see sa mga rush hour, ang haba ng pila ng mga sumasakay sa MRT, LRT, lalo na sa MRT rather.
Actually, in-increase na nga nila yung mga bagong bagon, yung speed ng kada bagon, kaya mabilis siya turnaround. Pero you're right, we need to add more to accommodate a growing number of passengers.
Yeah.
Oo.
Alright.
Bilang Pilipino, bilang Pilipino.
The Commission on Elections reported that over 45 million ballots for the 2025 midterm elections have been printed. This accounts for 63.32% of more than 72 million official ballots to be used in the polls. Of these, Miro Systems printed 22.57 million, while the National Printing Office produced 23.08 million. COMELEC aims to finish printing by March 9 or 10.
The Construction Workers Solidarity is now facing a disqualification case due to alleged involvement in vote buying. Batangas gubernatorial candidate Jay Ilagan filed a petition urging the COMELEC to disqualify CWS. Ilagan said the party list organized a last-to-take-hands-off challenge and awarded 3 brand-new cars. He argued that the giveaway violated election laws prohibiting vote buying. The CWS party list said it has not yet received a copy of the disqualification complaint.
Dahil harap-harapan po at sinabi rin ng ating mga at supported ito ng evidences. During the 90 days campaign period, bawal ang magbigay kahit magpakain sa mga kandidato. Subalit ito'y hindi pagkain. Ito'y 3 kotse na Vios ang ipinapremyo.
Former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV submits more evidence against Congressman Paulo Duterte in connection with a Shabu case.
And the Supreme Court has ordered the Senate and House of Representatives to comment on Vice President Sara Duterte's petition against her impeachment case. Ano na kaya ang susunod na mangyayari? We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. Now, former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV files a supplemental affidavit in connection with his drug smuggling complaints against Congressman Paulo Duterte. Trillanes said the additional evidence includes documents and testimonies from the House of Representatives Quad Committee hearings. The complaints filed by Trillanes against Duterte and others in 2024 allege violations of the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act. This stems from a May 2017 incident in which over 600 kilograms of shabu valued at more than 6 billion pesos was released by the Customs or Bureau of Customs. According to Trillanes, a certain Mark Taguba said he gave money for protection to Pulong and that he was chosen to import this.
Now let's further discuss that case and other matters.
We have former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV joining us live here in the studio. Good morning, Senator. Thanks for joining
Ms.
us.
Angela.
Yeah.
Good morning, Jacob.
Thank you for joining us, Senator. Of course, nakita natin po yung last report. I'd like to ask you about that. No, you filed a supplemental affidavit, no, and you said you uncovered po a new evidence based sa Quadcom hearing. Ano po itong ebidensya, Senator?
Actually, sinubmit lang namin yung affidavit ni Mr. Mark Taguba who pointed to Pulong Duterte as the one controlling the importations of contraband, including illegal drugs doon sa customs nung panahon nila. And also Mr. Jimmy Guban, who pointed that at Pulong Duterte rin as the kingpin ng mga illegal shipments kasama ng illegal drugs sa customs.
But aside from the testimonies, meron po ba tayong mga corroborative documentary evidences that will, support these allegations?
Yes, I submitted the whole evidence that was used by the prosecution to convict Mr. Mark Taguba doon sa same drug shipment case. Kumaga, it's already established. Ngayon siya, tinuro lang niya yung mastermind. So, dalawang nagturo kay Pulong Duterte as the mastermind. Kaya, eto na to. This is an open and shut case. Kaya I'm hoping masimulan na yung preliminary investigation ng DOJ.
And how confident are you, Senator, na positive ang magiging outcome? Kasi sabi po, of course, no, ng kabilang kampo po, nag-fishing daw kayo.
The whole world saw for themselves kung ano yung mga sinabi dun sa Quadcom. Hindi to gawa-gawa lang. At nakita nyo naman, even yung demeanor nila, the totality of the circumstances and evidence would point to the Duterte family as the ultimate narco politicians dito. They monopolize the drug trade. Yung war on drugs nila was just a ploy, was a ruse, to divert the attention ng taong bayan dun sa kanilang ultimate objective, which was to establish and monopolize yung sarili nilang kartel.
But do you think there's an impact, itong pag-file niyo po ng mga cases na to, may impact ito dun sa investigation, pending investigation ng ICC?
No, separate siya. Kasi si Pulong is different and separate from the ICC case kay Mr. Duterte.
Yeah, right. But since we're talking about ICC,
Yeah.
Kamusta na po yun? Kasi we've heard some reports and yung mga from your past interviews
Yes.
last year, no, sabi niyo before SONA and then na-move. Kailan na po ba na talaga pupunta yung ICC?
Okay, ganito. Last year, the information we got was second quarter of 2024. However, because of the statements of the Marcos administration that they will not cooperate, and because of that, inelevate nung ICC yung threshold for evidence. Dati, probable cause lang, they will file it, and therefore, pag may probable cause, mag-i-issue ng warrant.
Yes.
Kaso, since hindi na sila makakakuha ng further evidence, since hindi na nga mag-cooperate, they raised it to certainty of conviction. So, because of that, hindi muna nila final yung application for warrant. So, they spent the good part of the last 9 months gathering additional evidence para at certainty of conviction, para whether the Philippine government cooperates or not, they would have enough to convict Mr. Duterte. And I think lagpas na ron. And at this point, kailangan na lang natin mag-antay. It will come sooner than we expect.
I remember, Senator, yung hearing, very interesting hearing ng Quadcom, yung nagalit sa'yo si former President.
Yeah.
He said initially, sige, ako mismo pupunta doon, basta makasampal daw siya sa inyo. Pero nag-iba po ang statement bigla. Given na iba-iba po ang pronouncements niya, now do we see probably yung warrant na ito idadaan na lang sa Interpol?
Yes, but ano ko lang, iba yung reason niya kung bakit niya sinabi na sasampalin daw niya
Yes,
ako.
yes, yes.
It's the waiver ng bank account.
Ay, oo.
So, nung una, nagbo-volunteer siya na he will sign the waiver. Nung challenge siya nung chairman ng Quadcom, kung pwede niya na ba pirmahan right there and there at ipe-prepare na yung waiver, suddenly, he created a scene to divert the attention. Again, dun sila magaling mag-deceive. So, kailangan niyang gumawa ng eksena para hindi siya maobligang pumirma. But then we kept on challenging him to sign it, pero ultimately hindi. Ngayon, itong sa ICC naman, kasi si Duterte, ang tawag dyan fake news factory. Yung pathological liar siya. And he uses that skill for his convenience. 1 out of 10, magsasabi siya ng totoo if it would be convenient. Pero 9 out of 10, he will just lie para makover yung kanyang ultimate agenda. So in this case, sabi niya pupunta siya ng ICC. Nung nape-press na siya, hindi talaga. So it's going to go through the Interpol.
Yes.
Just to answer your question. Kasi iyan yung mechanism na still in place. We have an international agreement with the Interpol, and the Interpol has a cooperation agreement with the ICC. So valid yung agreement natin with Interpol, kaya pagkas doon pinadaan, wala sila doon.
But what do you think about yung naiiba ngayon yung direksyon ng PBBM administration pagdating sa usapin ng ICC? Before na nag-break up yung unit team, ay talagang very stern doon sa hindi po pwedeng makialam ang ICC dito. Pero ngayon medyo parang they're opening up about it, although may mga konting mga statements pa rin sa kanila na medyo we'll do our own case here, we'll investigate, etc. But what do you think about it?
It's expected. Kasi ang pinakang protection na lang ni Duterte was that unity with the administration. Pero nung nag-break away siya and when he tried to actually oust President Marcos, it's just common sense, no? Bakit ka pa poproteksyonan? So, it's very much expected yung shift from definitely will not cooperate to now we will turn him over to the Interpol.
Let's move on to another issue altogether, Senator. And we all know you as somebody who's very calculated in all your movements in the past decade or so. And you have decided to run for mayor of Caloocan. And so, pag may ganitong pronouncement ka na kinagulat ng marami kasi we expected baka mag-party list si Senator because national scale. But you decided to run for mayor sa Caloocan. That means may nakita po siguro kayong dapat baguhin sa Caloocan. Ano po itong nakita nyo, Senator?
Ganito yan, I agree. I was exposed to the national political scene. So doon ako nakatuon, yung mga national policies, diyan tayo nakatutok. Pero nung last year when I was invited to explore running for mayor, I went around Caloocan City and I consulted different people there. Nakita namin, grabe ang situation sa Caloocan. And even though I was born and raised in Caloocan, but after I graduated from PMA, hindi ko na nakikita yung mga ins and outs doon. So I saw for myself, ang grabe ang poverty dyan. I think the poorest people in the Philippines live in Caloocan. Yung facilities niya, yung infrastructure niya, very backward. Then, grabe ang corruption. And right now, number 1 na rin sa criminality ang Caloocan. So, sad to say, it's becoming the worst city in Metro Manila, at least.
Pero we all know, Senator, no, the Caloocan was governed by the Malapitan family for the longest time. So would you say napabayaan ito for the longest period?
Definitely, no. Wala talagang governance. Ang inaatupag lang ng mga nakaupo is kung saan kukuha ng pagkakakitaan, ano. Sad to say, kasi otherwise, dapat nakikita mo yung tao eh. And you should feel for them. You should be able to address yung basic needs nila. Kaya talagang napabayaan ang
You mentioned ang tinitignan nila kung saan sila pwedeng kumita.
Yes.
No, that's your word. Do you have a basis on that?
marami. No? And you can see it. Makikita mo lang doon sa basura. No? Hindi na kolekta. Once every 2 weeks ang collection. Pero pag titignan mo doon sa kontrata, ano to? One of the highest garbage contracts in the country. Tapos ganon. So you can just put 2 and 2 together. Pero at the proper time, maungkat lahat yan. In fact, may mga graft cases itong pamilya na ito. That's for everybody to see.
And of course, Senator, ang tanong ng marami, di ba? You've been campaigning for a few weeks, a few months now. Na umiikot po kayo. Based sa mga narinig nyo po sa mga constituents ng Caloocan, ano po ang kailangan nila? Kumbaga, kung manalo kayong mayor, ano po unang gagawin nyo na babaguhin nyo? Just at least maibsan po yung sinasabi nyo kahirapan.
Marami, no? Kailangan nila ng trabaho. Kailangan nila ng suporta yung mga marginalized sectors like the senior citizens, PWDs. Ang dami nila doon. Kailangan nila ng decent healthcare. Yung mga taga-Caloocan, pag magpapa-hospital, pupunta sila ng Manila o Quezon City. Kasi they don't have any decent healthcare system doon. So, very basic ang problema ng Caloocan. And we need to address those concerns.
Oo. Pero let's talk about surveys.
Yeah.
Kasi last year, we've seen a lot of surveys or some surveys, medyo behind po talaga kayo nag-umpisa. And then we've seen some videos sa social media. I don't know kung saan nanggagaling yon, pero pinapakita po nila doon na hindi po pinupuntahan daw ng tao yung mga areas that you go to para mag-campaign. Kumbaga parang pag tinanong mo on the bat yung mga tao doon, sino iboboto nyo, malapitan pa rin daw yung sinasabi nila.
Okay. I started out at 8%. No? And that's expected kasi lahat ng pangalan ng malapitan nakapintura sa mga pader. No? So, nandoon yung subliminal effect nun. But once we got around, started consulting people, the race has tightened. A few points, na lang ako, below. If may ibang surveys na, internal surveys to na tabla na, and some even lamang ako by a few points. But dun sa aming own internal survey, which we conducted last January, I'm just a few points behind. At ganun yung reflection. Ngayon yung mga sinasabi nyo, mga nakikita nyo sa social media, propaganda nila yon. Of course, that's what they will say, but we have a lot na videos to show na talagang baliktad. No? In fact, pag umikot itong mayor, si Along Malapitan, wala ngang lalapit ang magpapapicture sa kanya. They probably do not know him kasi hindi naman ito nakikita, hindi talaga umiikot. So, yan yung problema nila. No? They can just capitalize on propaganda dahil because of the money that they have, but the real picture on the ground is very much different.
Okay, siguro we'd like to pivot a little to ask you about pressing issues ngayon sa bansa. No?
We cannot not ask you
Yes, of course.
about
Being,
it. Oo.
being a former senator po, you know what's happening po sa impeachment. Yung
Yes.
na-transmit nila, sinabi ni SP Chis Escudero na they will take it up by June, I think, third week, no? Ano po ang interpretation niyan dito? Kasi the word forthwith ang pinagdidebatihan nila dito.
Maliwanag yon. Pag forthwith, ibig sabihin nun, right away or immediately. Kung mga precedents lang ang pinag-uusapan natin nung corona impeachment, the day after na na-transmit sa Senate yung articles of impeachment, nag-constitute kami as an impeachment court. Iba yung legislative calendar sa impeachment calendar. Walang nakalagay doon sa provision sa Constitution na kailangan during session. Because iwalay nga. Pag titignan nyo yung provision sa impeachment, nandito siya sa Article 11, I think, o hindi siya sa Article 6
Yeah.
sa legislature. Ibig sabihin, yung impeachment is a separate institution altogether. So, kaya nga nagro-robe pa eh.
Yes, yes.
To symbolize na you're not just regular senators, you are senator judges. Meaning, iba yung identity nyo. You're wearing a different hat. So, immediately, kahit walang session, kunyari, magpunta sila sa Senate ngayon, mag-agree sila, let's take an oath, mangyayari yon. But, you see, the Senate is the domain of the senators. Lahat ng nangyayari dyan is based on the rule of the majority.
Yes.
Pag nag-decide sila na we will do this today, they can do this today. If they decide to do this on June 2, they can do that.
Oo. Pero why do you think saan nanggagaling si Senator Chis Escudero? Because kung si Senator Coco Pimentel yung tatanungin, gusto niya magtawag na ng caucus, tas other legal experts like former Senator Franklin Drilon,
Yes,
sinasabi niya, pwede naman eh. Diba? Once na na-receive nyo na yung complaint, pwede na natin simulan, etc. Pero bakit si Senator Chis Escudero, iba yung pananaw niya?
Dahil ganun yung pulso ng mga majority. Remember, very small ang margin nung pagka-Senate President ni Senator Chis. If any block would shift to the other block, tanggal sa kagad siya. So yan yung napulsuan niya. That's my reading on that. He's treading on very thin ice. Kaya very careful siya. Meron lang convenient alibi na recess ngayon, campaign recess, but he knows it. Kung iba ang set of circumstances, he would have convened it right away. And alam nyo, si Senator Chis, Senate President Chis, magaling yan sa kumaga, legal procedures. Ano? I can imagine kung presiding officer siya, he would have displayed yung kanyang legal prowess, ano? Mapakita na niya sa taong bayan. And he would want that. Kaso, the circumstances do not favor such a scenario for him.
May kinalaman
Baka
po ba
baka
dito,
maging
Senator, yung election? Kasi takot daw yung ibang Senator judges na may backlash if they vote in favor of impeachment.
Yeah, for sure. Pero kasi, pagka sinimulan mo yung impeachment trial, lalagpasan nyo naman yung election. Eh.
Yeah.
You can conduct the verdict can happen after the election, so hindi ka tatamaan. You will just attend there. In fact, favorable pa to sa mga
Visibility,
Makikita sila sa
no?
TV, eh.
visibility.
Visibility.
You can just keep your cards close to your chest. Di ka magpakita ng ano. But ano doon ka. They can do that. Ano lang ito. I think there is a block there na pwedeng mag-shift sa kabila and mawawala sa pwesto.
So,
It's unfortunate. Yeah.
Oo. So parang mas meron dun na baka kasi magalaw yung kanyang pagiging Senate President. Ganun ba? Ganun ba?
And ano lang yun, speculation lang yun.
Yes.
And there is also this practical reason na karamihan ng mga senador ngayon ay out of the country. Nakaschedule na yan. May International Parliamentary Union,
Yes.
may mga official businesses elsewhere. So, for practical reasons, hindi. Pero yung caucus na sinasabi ni Senator Coco Pimentel, pwede naman gawin yan online eh. Mag-caucus sila na doon, o sige, let's meet when all these private or official businesses are done.
Yes.
They can meet ng March.
Pero yung sinasabi nilang yung isa pang issue na yung carry over from 19th Congress, pag hindi natapos i-carry over na sa 20th Congress, yung iba sabi okay yun, yung iba sabi hindi.
I think paliwanag yun na diretso yun. Kasi itong impeachment, pag titignan nyo sa Constitution, walang nagsasabi dyan na hihinto yan pag every end ng Congress. Walang ganon. Pag walang ganon, hindi ka pwede mag-invento na merong ganon. It's just like a trial, let's say sa Sandigan Bayan. pag may trial ka doon at nag-retire yung dalawang justices, tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung trial. Pag may pumalit doon, sila yung magbabackread. You don't reset. Yun yun.
Ngayon kasi, no, nakikita natin ngayon, nakafocus yung campaign between the Duterte side faction at saka, of course, yung admin, BBM admin.
Yeah.
Silang dalawa yung nag-aaway. I was wondering, being the opposition before, nasaan ngayon, no, sa picture na ito, ang true opposition?
Ang true opposition is si Senator Risa Hontiveros. Siya yung nandoon and she is playing that part. Policy-wise, nagpo-provide siya ng checks and balances with the administration. So, she is the voice. Yun sa mga tumatahimik, you cannot classify them as opposition anymore. Kasi pagka opposition ka, kailangan may ino-oppose ka.
So are you saying, let's say for example, kasi merong ako nakitang parang reaction mo doon kay Senator Bam Aquino. Sinasabi kasi ni Senator Bam Aquino na hindi daw ganun ka-importante yung impeachment complaint at hindi daw yun, kumbaga parang he went to Nueva Ecija, hindi daw yun yung pulso ng taong bayan, ibang problema. And you reacted on that. Can you tell us more about it?
Well, I needed to react that way kasi grabe yung sakripisyo namin dito to make the Dutertes accountable. Tapos, i-trivialize na gano'n. I need to call him out. Nagkasama kami nung panahon ni Duterte sa minority, pero apparently, he doesn't feel that way anymore. Baka mas malapit siya sa mga Dutertes at this point. Kaya nagpapauna siya about what he really feels. Kasi if he feels the same way as before, as we do, he wouldn't have said that.
So you're saying, Senator, based sa nakikita natin landscape, well, we should call it the yellows or yung mga pinklawan are veering now towards the Duterte side?
No, not everyone.
Si ano po, VP Lenny, former VP Lenny.
Well, you'll have to ask her that. Kaya nga kinall out ko rin siya when
Yes, yes.
she invited. She invited si Sara Duterte sa bahay niya. No? They tried to come up with some excuses, but kita nyo how does it look now? Diba? That didn't age well. So, it was just a forewarning. Ngayon, even though magkakasama kami before, pero when they get in the way of putting or making the Dutertes accountable, I will have to call them out. Ganun naman tayo.
Oo. Yun nga po, sabi niyo yung mga sakripisyo ninyo para nga mapakita sa tao kung ano talaga yung tunay na kulay ng mga Duterte. You've filed several cases, you've supported ICC investigation. Saan ba talaga nag-ugat? Kasi a lot of people are asking, galit na galit ka, you're so focused on Duterte. Di ba saan ba nag-ugat yun?
Ganito po, no? Kung makikita nyo how we operate, mission. It's about the mission. Dati si GMA was the mission.
Yes.
And eventually, na-accomplish yung mission na yun at terrible cost or expense sa amin. But still, nangyari yun. So, we moved on. Ngayon, si Duterte, giniba niya yung bansa. Dami niyang pinatay ng mga Pilipino. And that mission is still on. Hindi pwedeng isang tabi to. If we will not do this, if somebody is willing to take up the cudgels to make them accountable, we would gladly step back. Pero habang wala pa or hindi pa tapos yung laban, tutuloy-tuloy namin yan. And we feel na malapit na tumatapos. So we get this thing done, we have accomplished the mission, we now move on to something else.
Speaking of former President Duterte, I think you heard most likely yung statement niya about killing 15 senators. And of course, may pronouncement na joke lang daw. And sanay na po tayo, ganun po ang pronouncement nila panahon ng administrasyon na joke lahat ng sinasabi. Ano po ang sa tingin nyo dito? May sector nagsasabi, itigil na natin itong joke dahil hindi na daw healthy ito. Anong opinion nyo?
Ganun yon, mga pauna yon. Diba? So, whether that thing happens or not, meron siyang deniability. But we saw that nung panahon nung administration niya, thousands died. That was not a joke. Diba? And he was very clear about that. Kaya hindi pwede yon. Kaya tama yung kinasuhan siya ni General Torre. na paliwanag mo na lang yan sa korte kung joke yan o hindi. But you don't joke about those things. 'Di ba? Sa airport nga yung mga bomb jokes.
Yes.
Hindi pwede. Ganito lang yon.
With what's happening with VP Sara Duterte now, yung impeachment complaint against her, are you confident na kumbaga pag ito ay naipasok na sa impeachment court, may impeach siya?
Yes, I am confident because solid yung evidence sa kanya. Pag lumabas lang yung bank accounts, makita nila yung sinasabi namin noon pa na may dividends, may proceeds from the drug trade while she was mayor. Lalabas yon. Makikita ng tao yon, bibitawan na siya. At pag binitawan siya ng tao, bibitawan na siya ng mga politiko kasi magiging untenable pag
Yes.
dinefend.
Pero ang taas pa rin ng niya ngayon. I mean, bumaba, pero mataas pa din yung kanyang rating.
Actually, they're picking up. Their numbers are picking up dahil dun sa kanilang troll factory. Nag-expand sila ulit ng social media machinery nila. At ganon, they deceive people. That's how, yun yung sikreto nila.
You mentioned the word kanina, yung fake news factory. Meron isang very controversial statement. I'd like to ask you about this.
Yeah.
Si Congressman Marcoleta about the West Philippine Sea na tas nagkabanggaan pa sila ni Commodore J. Tariela. Ano po ang take nyo dito?
Grabe yun. It shows, reflective yon dun sa kanilang saloobin, yung kanilang biases and motivations. Pare-parehas yung mga Duterte camp, they've been defending the aggressions of China, yung intrusion sila sa ating West Philippine Sea. Even nung panahon ni Duterte, he actually directed the AFP to stop conducting EEZ patrols dun sa West Philippine Sea. Ganon yon, to give the Chinese the whole place, basically binigay nila. Kaya yan yon. Yan sila Marcoleta, mga acolytes yan ng mga Dutertes. Ibig sabihin, we have a pro-China motivation dito sa kampo nila.
Pero the way that the BBM administration is going through this, kumbaga yung mga ginagawa nila para sa West Philippine Sea, do you agree on that?
Yes, kung titignan nyo, practically the same sila ng foreign policy position as regards the West Philippine Sea dun sa Pinoy administration. So, they have turned away from the pro-China stance and they have realigned dun sa traditional security allies natin.
Ito, before we let you go, kasi wala na po tayong oras, I want to know also your insight dun sa nangyayari. Of course, ang sabi nila si Senator Amy Marcos ay kumbaga parang torn between two lovers, diba? Hindi alam, para po sa inyo, ano po ba dapat yung ginagawa niya? Dapat ba pumanig na lang siya ngayon sa kapatid niya or still continue the friendship with the Dutertes?
Dapat siyempre, kung before na hindi pa nagkakahiwalay, sige, pwede kang mag-straddle between the two camps. Pero nung nagkahiwalay na, dapat doon siya sa kapatid niya. Kasi, parang betrayal yon. And nakikita nyo, hindi rin naman siya in-embrace ng mga Duterte sa Davao. Kaya I think it's a miscalculation on the part of Senator Amy na mamangkasa sa dalawang ilog at this point. Siguro iniisip niya she could easily surpass the 2025 elections sa 2028. That partnership would have been convenient. Kaso ngayon at risk yung 2025 niya.
Yeah. And lastly po, you said mission accomplished kayo kay PGMA, ngayon kay former President Duterte. You want to see justice by him going to the ICC process.
Yeah.
Would you say pag nangyari po yun, tapos na or habulin niyo po lahat ng mga nasa Duterte na sa tingin niyo po ay dapat kasuhan?
Lahat ng pwedeng habulin. So, ang merong kaso ngayon, si Duterte, si Digong, si Sara Duterte, at si Pulong. So, yun. Ngayon, eventually, kung may madidiscover na plinander itong si Baste, then he would be answerable as well.
All
May
right.
mission
sige.
accomplished na si Senator.
It's great to have you po
Yes.
here, and hopefully we can still invite you and talk more about certain issues. But for the meantime, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, former Senator and Caloocan Mayoral Candidate Antonio Trillanes IV. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator.
Maraming salamat sa inyo.
All right, don't go away because we're not done yet. Stay with us.
Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
Senate President Chis Escudero says they can finish the trial for Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment by October. Here's the report.
There's no reason to call for a special session amidst Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment. That's what Senate President Chis Escudero told the media on Tuesday. Escudero explained that he can only do so if, first, all majority and minority leaders of the Senate agreed, and if it was because of an urgent legislation. With that, he said, calling a special session for an impeachment trial is not reasonable.
Anong gusto niyo, magbulungan tayo? Hoy, kunwari may urgent legislation, papa-request ako. Pero pag-usapan natin talaga impeachment eh. Yung palang mali na eh. Hindi ba?
If Duterte gets convicted, President Bongbong Marcos will pick the new vice president from Congress. Escudero though clarified as early as now that he is not interested in the position.
Ang pangit naman nun sa panlasa, kami magdedesisyon, kaugnay niyan, tapos yung pala, interesado ko at gusto ko pala. So ngayon pa lang sinasabi ko na, hindi ako interesado, tatanggihan ko yun kung inalok man sa akin yun.
The Senate President earlier said that they will likely conduct the trial by July. He noted that they can finish it in 3 months. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has ordered the House of Representatives and the Senate to comment on Vice President Sara Duterte's petition against her impeachment. Recall that Duterte is citing possible constitutional violations when she was impeached at the lower house.
Pope Francis continues to receive treatment for double pneumonia at Rome's Gemelli Hospital. The Holy See Press Office reported a slight improvement in Pope Francis's health, noting no new episodes of asthma-like respiratory distress. It added that his mild kidney insufficiency remains stable and is not a cause for concern. The Vatican also dismissed reports of a supposed hospital transfer as false. The Church continues to urge its faithful to offer prayers for the Pope's recovery.
In other news, the country recently made history at the Asian Winter Games in China after the Philippine curling team clinched a gold medal. Mobile journalist Denise Valdez Sancho has the report.
Another history made ng masungkit ng curling Pilipinas ang kauna-unahang ginto para sa Pilipinas sa Asian Winter Games. Pero curling, ano nga ba yan? Tila chess on ice. Ganyang inilarawan ni Curling Pilipinas coach Miggy Gutierrez ang sport nila.
The goal of the game is to have your stones closer to the center of the house, which is that target at the end of the ice, than your opponent.
4 ang miyembro ng bawat koponan sa curling at ang bato o stones na gamit nila nasa 20 kilograms ang bigat. Papadulasin yan sa tinatawag na sheet na tila yelong nasa 45 meters ang haba. Mapapansin din ang gamit nilang broom na malaking impluwensya sa direksyon ng mga bato.
So there is a lot of strategy that is involved. You look at a lot of angles, so you're looking at a sport like billiards that we love to play as Filipinos, and also bowling.
Para sa isang larong hindi tipikal sa Pilipinas dahil sa klima, mahabang panahon talaga ang ginugol ng mga iilang nakakaalam nito upang mabuo ang champion team na mayroon ang bansa ngayon. 2023 lang nang mabuo ang men's curling team natin. Nasa 15 taon ang tinagal ng paghahanap.
I saw a Facebook post back in 2011 or so, saying, "Hey, let's try to form curling Filipinas."
Binubuo ang Pilipinas ng magkapatid na sina Mark at Enrico Feister, kasama sina Christian Holler, Alan Frey, at alternate and Curling Pilipinas President Benjo Delarmente. Ang training nila sa labas pa ng bansa dahil sa kakulangan ng Pilipinas sa facilities and equipment. Sa kabila ng lahat ng yan, naiuwi pa rin nila ang ginto sa unang sabak nila sa Asian Winter Games.
One of the reasons we won, because this team, same team for the past 2+ years, that type of synergy, you can't just teach. You can't just take players from left and right.
Kasabay ng panalo ang unti-unting pagkilala sa sport. Kaya't ang hangarin ni na Coach Miggy at ang komunidad ng curling sa Pilipinas.
With this exposure, with this victory, we're able to start up that grassroots effort to now bring the sport to the Philippines.
Anumang sport, kahit pa curling, makikita talaga ang kaibahan ng dugong Pinoy na punong-puno ng puso at determinasyon. Mobile Journal, Denise Valdez Sancho po, nakitang mukha ng balita.
Wow, congratulations!
Oy, klaro lang sa mga viewers natin. Hindi po sasali tayo sa Salon Games, nagpapakulot. Curling team eh.
Para siyang
National
ice
team sa
hockey.
kulot eh. Ay, parang ice hockey siya.
Oo, yun pala yun. Pero that's a good,
Oo,
a good
oo.
news. Kasi diba, lumalawak na yung mga sports na pwedeng
Natin.
salihan ng
And Philippines,
Pilipinas.
being a tropical country, lalaban tayo sa Winter Games.
Oo, oo nga, no?
Maganda yan.
Gold yan, gold medal. Congratulations.
Oo, ang pagkukulot.
Oh, and we continue to pray for Pope Francis.
Yes, prayers for the
Oo,
pontiff.
of course.
And hopefully he gets back to work. Kaya pa niya. And with that, may sasabihin ka pa, wala na. Alright, I'd like to leave everyone with a quote that hopefully will help your day become more successful. The whole secret of a successful life is to find out what is one's destiny to do and then do it. A quote from Henry Ford. And that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
I'm Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.